If printing money were legal, half of you would be in your garage right now with a stolen HP LaserJet and a YouTube tutorial. But in sports betting, that fantasy can actually be a reality, and you don't even need a printer. Doesn't matter if you think EV is a brand of vape, or that closing line value sounds like a Tinder metric. I went from torching $3,000 on dumb parlays to building a 5-figure profit. And I've helped casual bettors do the same, turning degenerate habits into disciplined systems that stack money like spreadsheets on steroids. And most people never figure this out. Not because it takes a math genius to get it right, but because they refuse to stop betting like fanboys. So if that's you, click off now. But if you're sick of buying the sportsbook a new vacation home every month, stick around, because I'm about to show you how real sharp bettors print money and how you can do it too, even if you're kind of retarded. But before that, there's one mistake casual bettors keep making, and it's slowly draining their bankroll like a small leak they don't even notice. And this is what I mean. I was at a UFC watch party the night Usman fought Leon Edwards, and one of my boys was riding Usman so hard you'd think he was his PR manager. He was telling me, "Bro, he's a machine. No way he loses. This one's a lock of the year." With all that confidence, he slammed $1,000 on Usman at -400. It was all in for the win. And for 24 minutes, it looked like he was gonna have an early payday. Usman was winning the fight without a sweat. But then, out of nowhere, Leon Edwards whips out a head kick and knocks out Usman with less than 40 seconds on the clock. That shut my friend up real quick. And he was quiet the rest of the night. Yeah, it's safe to say that was a terrible call. He bet with pure emotion and a negative EV. But even if the numbers were on his side, full sending it was still a losing strategy. Because one bad bounce, one head kick, and poof, your money's all gone. Which is why I built a private community. I want to help people stop losing their rent money over one emotional spiral. And no, there will be none of that max unit heaters. Just a group of sharp bettors focused on discipline and data. We share plays, systems, and most importantly, accountability. Because betting against the books is hard, and doing it alone is even harder. So if you're serious about turning sports betting into something sustainable, check the link in the description. But hey, if you'd rather keep trusting your gut like it's some mystical sports oracle, you're basically already toast. See, most people think betting is about picking winners. It's not. In fact, thinking that way is exactly what keeps you losing. If you're stuck in that mindset, stalling, overconfident, thinking you've got this one, you're setting yourself up to lose before the game even starts. Think about it like showing up to a Best Buy on Black Friday. You stroll into the store at 10 a.m. like an amateur, but everyone else camped out overnight like a bunch of tryhards and cleaned the place out. Now all that's left is a toaster no one wanted and a waffle maker with no plug. That's what it's like betting last minute based on your ball knowledge. The market's been open for days, and the pros have already taken the value bets, which leaves you with only two options. You either grab mispriced lines early before the sharps and syndicates vacuum up the value, or you wait for the chaos. Let the public or breaking news push the line too far, then snipe the bad number from a book that's slow to react. But if neither of those works, here's a third option. Build a legit model that gives you your own edge. But I'll talk more about that later. So how do you actually spot picks that don't just look good, but actually make money? Well, that brings us to step 3. And to put it in simpler terms, let's break it down like this. You walk into a supermarket and see 2 shelves selling toilet paper. One shelf says $6, the other says $4. Which one are you grabbing? Unless you enjoy overpaying to wipe your ass, you're going with the cheaper one, obviously. And that gives you more value for the exact same product. That's how sharp bettors look at odds. Every sportsbook is just another shelf, selling the same bet at a different price. So your job is to find the book that's offering the best number and bet there. But the problem with this is that scanning 10 plus books manually takes forever. That's why I use a tool called OddsJam. It automatically scans every book for mispriced bets with a positive expected value. And yeah, it costs money, but it allows you to consistently find plus EV bets, which helps you to make your money back fast. Which brings us to step 4. And while on paper, this part seems pretty simple, this is where most bettors fall off. Back when I started, I thought I was crushing it. Betting every day, seeing a few big wins, telling myself I had an edge. Then one day, I actually checked the numbers. I pulled up my spreadsheet and saw I was down $632. That was my wake-up call. Because if something shows up as plus EV, it doesn't mean it really is. You think you're making good bets, but you never actually check. That's why tracking matters. And you need to see if you're consistently beating the closing line value, because that's your scoreboard. And you don't need anything fancy. A simple Google Sheet works. Or you can use tools like JuiceReel, pick it, or the built-in tracker on OddsJam. Whichever route you take, just remember this. If you're beating the closing line about 70% of the time, you're on the right track to turning a profit. But if all that sounds intimidating, don't worry because I made it super simple. I built a free Google Sheets tracker that handles all of it for you. It tracks your units, shows your profit by bet type, and helps you spot where your actual edge is. The link's in the description if you're interested. Now, you might be wondering, alright, I've got some solid picks, but why am I still not profitable? That's a great question. So I did the math, and this is what I came up with. Say you've got a 5% edge and you're betting 1 to 2% of your bankroll per play, and you're using a tool like OddsJam, which runs about $200 a month. Knowing this, there are 3 ways you can set up your bankroll, and they each fall under different tiers. At tier 1, we have the $1,000 bankroll. At 2% per bet, you're making $1 per play with a 5% edge. So you have to place 200 bets just to break even after tool costs. Because of this, I don't recommend tier 1. So unless you're an animal, you're better off getting a normal job, stacking some cash, and coming back with a real bankroll. Which leads us to tier 2, a $3,000 bankroll. And for me, this is the bare minimum if you don't want to be glued to your screen firing off 10 plus bets a day. You won't get rich, but it gives you an opportunity to level up your skills without risking too much money on each bet. But if you want to know what the sweet spot is, you've got to fall under tier 3, a $5,000 starting bankroll. With this, essentially, your tools pay for themselves with low volume, and you get a solid ROI on your time. Because at the end of the day, your bankroll isn't just your budget, it's the engine. And the bigger it is and the better you manage it, the faster you can print money in your downtime. Which leads us to step 6, and this one's huge, because it's one of the most important mindset shifts you can make that will skyrocket your profits. And here's what I mean. Imagine someone jumping into the stock market, picking random stocks because it's going to the moon, putting half their money on some crypto meme coin, and then balling into their pillow after it all tanks and vanishes overnight. That person would lose all of their money in a few weeks. But that's exactly how most people bet on sports. If you don't treat betting like investing, you're gonna lose. And there's no way around this. So this is what the pros do instead. They treat every bet like a trade. They look for value in the market, and they think in decades, not just the big game on the weekend. So remember that model I mentioned earlier? Here's how you do it. First, set a bankroll. Decide how much you can afford to lose without flinching, and protect it like it's your last stack at the poker table. Then, define your unit size. I suggest sticking to 1 to 2% of your bankroll per game, so variance doesn't bulldoze you after one bad week. And lastly, only bet when there's actual value. Meaning, if the odds don't beat the true probability, don't bet. Because that'll only be a donation to the sportsbook's vacation fund. Now, if you want to learn how to spot bets that you can't afford to skip, this next video is for you. I'll share with you the most profitable betting strategy ever, so you can say goodbye to losing. And no, this isn't clickbait, it's pure math. Once you see it, you won't look at odds the same way again. Click here to start watching.